For years, all I knew about the Uncharted games and franchise is what I'd heard people online say when talking about how they thought it'd be great to adapt a film. They'd compare it with Indiana Jones and National Treasure. They'd talk about its epic action set pieces, engaging narrative and pacing, realistic graphics, focused gameplay, and how the experience as a whole felt like you were playing a movie. Honestly, even as a guy who would probably pick a PlayStation console over any others, who's a big fan of PS exclusives, that, to me, didn't sound interesting at all. I knew I should play an Uncharted eventually, simply because of how well received they were, but why would I want to play a movie when I'm looking to play a game? As of March 2025, we've gotten only a single Uncharted movie, and it was okay. It felt like a safe MCU/action movie formula, boardroom produced film with just the right amount of funny that was made primarily to entertain and be enjoyed by casual fans and people unfamiliar with the series looking for a popcorn movie to kill some time with. There's room in this world for movies like that. It's nothing to get too invested in, and I'd say I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was bad. However, I certainly wasn't impressed. Yet, when I finally played it, unlike the movie, Uncharted 1 did impress me, even though I wasn't supposed to like it. Hello, welcome to H7 Bus. My name is Nathaniel Welch, and this is Video Game pReviewer. In this video, we'll be talking about Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which I played on the PlayStation 5. The first three Uncharted games were bundled together and remastered in 2015 for the PS4 as the Nathan Drake Collection. If you've got a PS4 or PS5, it's probably the best way to experience those games, so I totally recommend it. It's also free for PS Plus Premium members. If you're looking to play Drake's Fortune, go for it. Speaking of Drake's Fortune, what's it about? You play as Nathan Drake, a lucky, witty, resourceful everyman who's a descendant of the historical real-life explorer Francis Drake. Nathan, who is commonly referred to as Nate, is a treasure hunter, and at the beginning of the game, he tracks down a vacant coffin, proving that Sir Francis Drake faked his death. Inside the coffin, Nate finds a diary, which allows him to follow in Sir Francis's footsteps to find the legendary El Dorado. With the help of his mentor Sully and a TV journalist named Elena Fisher, Nate must climb, fight, and explore his way through jungle and ruins, all to uncover the true fate of Francis Drake and to rediscover El Dorado. I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was getting into with this game. But I love history and archaeology shows, so I was immediately hooked. Like, after the first cutscene, I was ready to play the entire game regardless of its quality, just to see how the story developed hooked. History was always my favorite subject in school, and while to some people this game may seem to be ancient history, it's not. Uncharted 1 was released on November 19th, 2007 for the PlayStation 3. It was developed by Naughty Dog, who, after having spent 4 years working on Crash Bandicoot, spent 5 years working on Jak and Daxter, and this time wanted to create with a more realistic IP. They started development in 2005 and strived to take advantage of the decrease in limitations they'd have working with the new, powerful hardware of the PS3. And clearly, they did well. The game scored an 88 out of 100 on Metacritic and has gone down in history as one of the best-selling PS3 games of all time. It was praised at release for its stellar visuals, acting, soundtrack, and gameplay. Although it was criticized for its short length and certain gimmick sections, but we'll talk about those later. For the past few years, I've spent a lot less time gaming than I did for most of my life before that. After having recently moved, I've just now started to really get back into it. last November, while sick, I was looking for a way to still work on content for H7 Bus, even though I was out of it. Since I was already planning on making game reviews, and gaming as an activity is pretty low intensity, I decided to find something to play. I don't totally remember why, but I chose Uncharted on a whim. I think it's because I wanted to try playing an immersive story game again. And I was feeling more tired of open world games than linear ones, and Uncharted would be the latter, so I booted it up. I already had the Nathan Drake collection downloaded on my PS5 because I wanted to review the games since people really like them. So there was nothing stopping me from beginning a new adventure. And boy, it was one. First of all, I'm not used to sharing a name with a protagonist. Second, I thought while playing the game, I'd want to explore and would have no opportunity to. But I did. I'd heard the game had aged poorly and was nowadays considered unfun, but I think it aged well, and I had a lot of fun. I thought I was going to get sick of cutscenes and be delivered a dumb or poorly told plot, but I actually looked forward to every cutscene. It seemed like going into it, I was set to not enjoy Uncharted, yet instead, I did. So, what makes Uncharted so delightful? First of all, it's a PS3 game. I grew up mostly playing on a PS2 and PS3, even when I had a PS4. So my eyes literally can't get over the fact that games would ever look better than this. Which they do. It looks bad compared to modern games, but it's so clearly PS3 that I love it. You can immediately tell. There's a little too much depth of field. Lack of clarity and less important textures can cause visual clutter. Pop-in of distant scenery re-rendering is occasionally visible, and the lighting is done in such a way that everything looks and feels green when you're in the woods. And when you're in a dark cave, everything's dark gray, and why would you have it any other way? Welcome to 2007. If you can get past all that, and the fact that the game turns 18 this year, welcome to adulthood, Uncharted 1. You'll be pleasantly surprised by some of the game's beautiful vistas and the few legitimately breathtaking views it contains. Uncharted 1 can still be pretty, and the resolution boost and 60 FPS lock given from its PS4 remastering is certainly a part of that. But I also think the locales were just very well designed and had a lot of work put into them, even if there isn't much variety. You can tell this game was a trailblazer for its time though, and not just for narrative action games, which the franchise has clearly had an impact on, because its mocap and animations still hold up well. Some animations, like the swimming, vine swinging, and some enemy reactions to being shot are a little overly dramatic, but I think it's better that they are so than if they weren't. Because whenever you have the controller in your hands, Uncharted does a great job with player feedback, making the world seem like it's reacting to you, that you actually have control of Nathan, and that's a big part of the places you explore actually feeling real, and the railroad the game has you on not feeling restrictive. The one kind of problem I have with the game's visuals is with its lighting. And I'm not talking about that PS3 environment color saturation thing, or really even critiquing the quality of its lighting in general. It's not like it's flat. But the game just feels dark. It's not hard to see what's climbable and what's not, but at times it's hard to see in general. I solved this by playing in the dark, but I don't always want to do that. I don't know if it's a color grading or contrast issue, and it's not like I haven't seen this before in games from this era, but it just sucks that the lighting sometimes requires you to strain your eyes. I think the game still looks good, and I saw very few visual glitches or reused assets that hadn't been color corrected during my playtime. The lighting is dynamic, and the sun is beautiful, but play in the dark or with a really bright TV. The only other nitpick I could give is that some cutscene transitions aren't very smooth, but they're plenty good enough for a PS3 game. Moving from our eyes to our ears, oh man, the music and sound design is great. I don't think any of the themes besides Nate's in the main theme are memorable at all, but they're still good. It's scored like a historical fiction action movie rather than how you'd expect from a late aughts action game. So, there's a lot of horns, and they're very grand sounding without being too bombastic. They really elevate the game and make you feel like you're going on an epic journey. The rest of the instrumentation is tribal sounding, some flutes and strings, but overall very percussive. Drums beat when you're in action and are more intense when the moment calls for it. The soundtrack basically just does a really good job at supporting the gameplay and the mood required for any given moment. I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to the soundtrack on its own, but it works. And if at times it stands out to you, you'll probably enjoy what you just noticed. All the voice acting is top notch, and line delivery pretty much always feels natural. There's not really much more praise I could give than that, so moving on to the sound effects, they're certainly realistic. I don't know that I heard anything that broke my immersion or that just sounded silly. Gunshots can always be heard, grunts sound like grunts and aren't too loud. Footsteps, the jumping and landing sounds, and the climbing sounds are very good as well. The main thing that stands out though is the environment ambience. Hearing bushes rustle, wind blow through flora, and all the little sounds made by fauna are a huge part of the game's success at making you feel like you're actually exploring. Basically, the overall presentation is still good, even for a game from 2007.
Alright. Good old Trapped. Oh man. Okay, I'm getting shot. Wait for this guy. Back quick, huh? Okay, let's try this again. Alright. Sweet. Give me this thing. Come on, don't miss. Alright. Anyone else close? Anyone else close? Alright. Sweet. Oh, there's one guy. Come on. Crap. That was... Am I out? I'm out. Okay. That was such a missed easy shot. Okay. Okay. Little waste of ammo. That's fine. Oh, he's right there, man. Okay. Anyone else? Is that it? Am I good? Oh, there's more. Okay. Get me up here. Whoa, what's going on? That's a glitch. Is that it? For real? Okay, well. I expected that to be a lot more tense. That was a waste. Up the stairs. I said him once. Here we go. Oh! Oh, it's this guy. Okay, let's try that again. Sweet. Is that it? That was easy. Any treasures? Alright, any treasures over here? Oh. Treasures over here? Nope. Any treasure up here? Nope. Any treasure up here? No, just a gun. Cool gun. Any treasure over here? No? Okay. Where does that lead to? Will that kill me? Yeah, go down. Oh, okay. I wasn't supposed to go there.
How does the game from 2007 that is totally a game and not a movie play though? The swimming is kind of jank. You're always slightly moving in a random direction, even in standing water. You barely ever have to swim though, and it's not difficult to control, so all is forgiven. The AI is good. For enemies, some of their intelligence is determined by what difficulty you're playing on, but they'll wide peek you if you're holding a close angle, and you can lose them and peek them from somewhere they won't expect. For your companions, they don't get in the way when walking around, so we're all good there. But what about Nate? How does he control? What's the gameplay loop like? Well, between cutscenes, you spend a lot of time exploring, climbing, and engaging in firefights with bad guys. Starting with the exploring, Uncharted may be linear, but it's so well designed that its exploration doesn't feel so. Sometimes, you decide to go off to the side to investigate something and end up where you were supposed to be. And that feels great. Other times, you go where you think is the right way to progress and end up at a dead end. And that feels great. There are moments as well where you have a secondary way to climb, get to an area, or solve a puzzle, and those moments are appreciated. They are few and far between, but I spent most of the game feeling like I was discovering the plot and the solutions to situations rather than trying to intuit what one way a developer designed something to be done. Everything feels natural. That's a great point in reference to the whole game, but also to the puzzles. I love puzzles. I love using my brain while gaming, and I like it when they're challenging, but not too hard. They're not too hard here. Every puzzle can be solved with the resources you have. I didn't need a guide for any, and I never felt like I needed one, but nothing felt given to me either. While exploring, there's also a bunch of optional treasures you can find, scattered around every level. Some of them are hard to find and are very well hidden, to the point where you'll spend some time running into every corner and wall throughout the game in order to find them all, but none of them are hidden in stupid spots. I got them all, and it wasn't just for some achievements. You actually unlock concept art, costumes, and PS1 era cheats or modifications while you progress through the game and find treasures. You spend a lot of Drake's Fortune climbing around on stuff, and it's pretty mindless, but it's not boring. A lot of the time, you have to analyze your surroundings to decipher how to get somewhere. And if that's to be done through climbing, you feel rewarded for having figured it out. And by the time that feeling is over, you're done climbing. It's not hard to see what's climbable and not as well. The looks are pretty consistent. But seriously, I know Nate is supposed to be an everyman, but I can't climb like that. It's pretty impressive. He's a good treasure hunter and a master at climbing around, but besides that, he's just a guy. I found that refreshing. He goes down after getting shot a few times. He can't jump like Mario, he can't roll like in Dark Souls, and he doesn't shoot like he just came straight out of Call of Duty. Nate feels weighty. It's like you're playing a normal human who's just an abnormally incredible rock climber, and also really lucky. The primary action you'll be involving yourself with is getting shot at by and shooting at people with guns. You do have 2 easy melee combos you can use, but you rarely will, and you can stealth take down enemies, but there's no Arkham Asylum crouch button, so you might default to shooting your foe in the back rather than trying to sneak up on them. The shooting and combat is fun. It's not seamless and it's not super fluid, but it's fun. Some guns feel useless depending on your playstyle, but they are all useful at higher difficulty. The gunfights are built around a cover system. You hide behind cover to regain health, and when you're ready to shoot, you peek out and fire at whoever else isn't behind cover. You can roll from one spot to another piece of cover, and sometimes this doesn't work as well as you'd like, but you'll get the hang of it eventually. You don't always want to be pressed against cover though. You can switch your aiming from your right to your left side, so it's important to learn when to use cover simply as an obstruction and to normally peek out from behind it with whatever shoulder view is the most favorable. You can run and gun and hip fire as well, but it's not very accurate, so those are options best utilized at close range with a shotgun. You're constantly playing out a story and navigating crazy situations, so occasionally you're introduced to a mechanic you'll basically never see again that's either done very well, done okay, or feels completely unnecessary. Usually, this is frustrating in a lot of games, but they don't stay too long here, though some critics would argue the jet ski did. You'll have a few opportunities to control a jet ski. Its sections are tedious and it doesn't handle well. However, if you take it slow, you'll actually get through them pretty fast, and I still had a little bit of fun. It ends up feeling half-baked, along with the quick time events in the game, but I give some of that a pass considering this is the start of the franchise. Everything is an experiment, and there's some stuff that will be improved upon for its sequels, and some stuff that will be dropped. For my first playthrough on normal, I got about half the treasure, and I beat the game in 8 hours. So yeah, that's pretty short. But if you've got the rest of the collection, it still makes it worth buying, as you've got 2 other games to play. If you're like me though, I actually wanted to immediately go through the game again on higher difficulty, get the rest of the treasures, and see about getting the platinum. I did my replay on Crushing, the highest original difficulty, and it was hard. It was very challenging, but I still enjoyed myself. I got all the treasures, which took a lot of time and required me to become intimately familiar with each level, but I still had fun. Where I stopped was with the platinum. I like the 100% games, but some of the game's achievements require you to set up and do a certain number of things in combat. I was just not enjoying it, and I hate achievements like that, so I stopped and I didn't get them. I ended my time with the game having cumulatively spent 25 hours on it, which I don't regret having spent. If picking up Uncharted 1 for the first time, I recommend that you play it once, play it again if you're still having fun, and then move on. Altogether, it's just got good gameplay. Drake's Fortune is also written pretty well. The story is short, not very complicated, and by no means does it try to be anything super groundbreaking or emotional, but it's fun. I'd say it suffers from its lack of a strong antagonist. There is one, and he could have been better, but he wasn't very present. For a video game story though, I do not expect perfection. Many games, like Mario 64, which we've already established is incredible, make up a story simply to facilitate the gameplay. So, the fact that Uncharted tries hard to do more than that, and keeps it interesting without crashing and burning, is what makes the story good for a game that isn't entirely built around its plot. What makes it all memorable, though, for having such a modest story, is the script and dialogue. It gives the game a lot of charm. You look forward to all the character interactions, and the game doesn't try too hard to be funny either. I find it so cool that dialogue is written in such a way that you're able to glean a pretty good idea of character relationships as well, simply from a few lines. And the way the dynamic develops between the main three feels nice and natural. They're written very realistically too. I mean, they question themselves, they don't know everything, and they ask each other for help. Not only does this result in you always having someone to relate to, but it just makes it so much easier to care about the characters. Even the villains, except for that one guy. The quality script, assisted by the fun gameplay, supportive score, and great voice acting, results in the game having really good pacing. The cutscenes don't overstay their welcome, but they're not too short either. And Naughty Dog really did an awesome job at balancing mood with the pacing. The game can keep you excited during a cutscene, keep you tense even when you're not in a firefight, and give you more than enough curiosity to keep on moving forward, even if you're scared. All of this really makes me want there to be an Uncharted movie. Oh, wait. Like I mentioned earlier, the game's intro is great. Not only does it start like an action-adventure film, but it engages you like one hopefully would too. Within the first 10 minutes, you've met the three main characters and have a pretty good idea of each of their motivations. You're already pursuing the primary plot, you've been taught the core gameplay mechanics, and have probably already begun to enjoy the cutscenes and will be excited for the next one. It's a good opening, and the first two levels really grip and interest you, but they could teach you better. You'll learn to shoot, punch, reload, and climb fine and at the right time, but the game seriously never taught me how to throw a grenade. I literally just guessed at one point. Also, I wish they had placed a collectible treasure in your path towards the beginning and made it mandatory to pick up. At first, I thought those little glimmers I was seeing were just old PS3 reflections, rather than the game telling me to come pick up whatever this thing is. I didn't let it bother me though, and went on to enjoy the throwback that came with playing a PS3 classic, which I should have played a long time ago. Though the story of Drake's fortune is pretty simple, the characters have depth. So I guess one surface level lesson we can walk away from the game with is to never give up. Nate's journey gets pretty perilous at times, but he doesn't give up. And that's applaudable and can be inspiring. I think some more serious lessons would be to care for those important to you, to not let what's temporary endanger what really matters, and to learn from your mistakes. All our heroes are likable, but they have flaws, and there come moments where they have to overcome them. Nate has to set aside his greed to help his friends, and they have things they need to sacrifice in order to help Nate. They do the right thing when it really comes down to it, even though it's hard, because the three care for each other, and that's what really matters to them. And a more personal one I learned while playing is to not be afraid to try new things, and to give some things a second chance, because you may just end up discovering something you really like. Uncharted was a surprising treat to play, and I'm super looking forward to eventually diving into the rest of the franchise. It's not that deep of an experience, and it has some quirks like its lack of boss fights and very quick but good ending Yet, if you love gaming and exploring the outdoors, or Indiana Jones and National Treasure, or are looking for a new franchise to immerse yourself in that features really endearing human characters, I totally recommend that you check out Uncharted. And start here. If my research is correct, the games get better from here, and you may find this one less enjoyable if you visited one of its sequels first. With how good of a game it is though, if you have a blast, you'll certainly be excited for what comes next. I really like Uncharted Drake's Fortune, even though I thought I wouldn't. And I give it an 8 out of 10 rating. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more video game previewers, then you should like and subscribe, because there'll always be more on the way. What do you think about Uncharted 1? Let me know in the comments. God bless.